Today we're going to talk about the beginning of World War II. Okay, so we got into a little bit of some of the causes of what was going on, some of the things that led to dictatorship. So now we're going to go back and we're going to look at some of the things that Adolf Hitler did in particular, and then we're going to get into some of the early fighting. All right, so here we go. All right, so peace in our time. The idea of Lebensraum was something that Hitler thought was really important. So Lebensraum means living space. Okay, so it's the territory the state or nation believes is needed for its natural development. Okay, so what that means is the Germans felt like they needed more space, more land to develop more, because they felt like they didn't have enough space. Okay, and so this is going to lead to all that expansion that we've been talking about. So in Austria, that's one of the first places that Hitler's going to try to take over. So he basically threatened Austria unless Austrian Nazis, remember Nazis are a political party, unless they are given important government jobs. And then in 1938, that March, so within a month, Hitler announced what's known as the Anschluss. The Anschluss is the unification of Austria and Germany. Okay, so now Austria is a part of Germany. After this, he's going to move on to the Sudetenland. So if you look on this map, the Sudetenland is this area right in here. Okay, and this is an area, it's part of Czechoslovakia that had a very large German-speaking population. But the Czechs resisted Hitler's demands to take it over. So France, Soviet Union, and Britain all threatened to fight if Germany attacked it. And so this is going to lead to the Munich Conference in September of 1938. And basically, this is where Britain and France come up with the policy of appeasement. Okay, so the idea was, okay, well, you can have this, but don't ask for any more. Okay, so if we give him this, maybe he'll stop, which obviously doesn't work. March of 1939, Hitler is going to send troops into Czechoslovakia and take over all of Czechoslovakia. Okay, so this next slide here, this is the map that was on the previous slide, just bigger. So you can kind of see where the areas I'm talking about here. So right here is the Sudetenland. Okay, and so this is going to be annexed in 1938. You can see all this yellow here, Austria, and then all this yellow is annexed in 1938, and then eventually he's going to take over, by March of 1939, he's going to take over Czechoslovakia here, okay? All right. So other demands, so Hitler demanded the return of Danzig, which was a Polish seaport on the Baltic Sea. He also wanted a highway and railroad across the Polish corridor, so he wanted to be able to transport goods more easily across Poland, basically. So by this time, France and Great Britain realized appeasement is just not working. So May 1939, Hitler is going to order the invasion of Poland. Now this doesn't happen until September. So August 23rd, 1939, a week before he actually invades Poland, what they're going to do, Hitler's going to do is sign a non-aggression treaty with the Soviet Union, and then they agreed to divide Poland. So on September 1st, 1939, both countries are going to invade Poland. And you can see on the map kind of the territories that they took over, okay? So this is going to mark the beginning of World War I, okay? So September 1st, 1939. I don't ask you to know a lot of dates, but I do ask you to know this one. So September 3rd, 2 days later, Britain and France are going to declare war on Germany. Okay, so when Germany invaded, they used what's known as a blitzkrieg, okay, which means lightning war. And this picture here kind of shows what that looked like. So basically what they did is they would have like a line of tanks supported with aircraft, and then they would have the infantry behind those tanks. And it was just like, it was called lightning war because just very quickly they would go in and they would just annihilate everything. Okay, so by October 5th, the Polish army was totally defeated, and Poland had basically become, that part of Poland became part of Germany. So April 9th, 1940, Germany turned their attention to Norway and Denmark. Both of those were conquered within a month. Now, the French, understanding that he's going to try to come after them, after World War I, the French built what is known as the Maginot Line. The Maginot Line is basically a line of concrete bunkers and fortifications along the German border to protect France from Germany, because after World War I, they were worried that Germany would try something again, which obviously they were right. So Hitler decided, instead of confronting the Maginot Line, which would cause a lot of troops to die, he goes around the Maginot Line. So what he does is, to do this, he has to invade the Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg. So when he does this, this really ticks off Britain and France. So the French and British forces go into Belgium, but they become trapped by the Germans. Okay, and so what this they basically get pushed all the way back to Dunkirk. Okay, and there's a movie about Dunkirk. It's a really good movie if you want to watch it. But Dunkirk sits right on the English Channel, and from Dunkirk, 338,000 troops were evacuated across the English Channel. And then June 22nd, 1940, France finally surrenders to Germany. Okay, so Germany is going to install a puppet government in France, but for the most part, France is basically part of Germany. So Britain is going to remain defiant. So what's going to happen is, after France surrenders, Hitler thought that Britain would just negotiate peace, or they would get taken over pretty easily. But the Prime Minister of Britain, Winston Churchill, he is going to refuse to negotiate peace, and he's going to deliver a speech that's going to rally the British, and it's going to alert the U.S. to Britain's plight, which eventually, obviously, we are going to be helpful in them later. We'll talk about the Lend-Lease Act, where we supplied Britain with supplies and things like that, but no actual fighting until after, obviously, Pearl Harbor. But to invade Britain, Germany, basically, they had to defeat the Royal Air Force. So they had to defeat the RAF if they had any chance of invading Britain. So this right here is one of the planes that the RAF would use. It was the most common plane. But the Battle of Britain is going to be fought in the air. Okay, and it's the RAF against the Luftwaffe. Okay, the Luftwaffe was the German Air Force. Okay, and so the Germans are going to start to bomb London, and in retaliation to that, the British are going to go over to Berlin, and they're going to bomb that. And so even though the RAF was greatly outnumbered, they did have radar stations, so they had advance warning that German aircraft was coming, and eventually they're going to win. Okay, and they're going to hold off the Germans until 1941, well, really early 1942, when by the time the U.S. actually gets there to help out. All right, and that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you all have a good rest of your day, and don't forget to do your processor. Bye.